I've been purchasing a lot of BC-250s and putting them online. I'm currently speculative mining. I'm covering that over on my locals. A lot of these posts are going to be from locals and everybody over there. So credit where credit is due for all of these types of things. And one of the big problems is they come in those ASUS 4U server cases, and the home miners are dealing with a lot of heat generation or noise really on those units. And if you try to remove the fans or tone them down, you end up with heat issues and that sort of thing. My particular case, I think like, quit being a little bitch. Everything's going to be loud. Nobody ever said mining was going to be convenient and quiet. So, get a garage, get a shed, work up to that position to where that noise is not going to bother you as much. If you're at home mining, these are probably not the solution for you, but people have been messing with it. Button here did go ahead and implement one of the little fan controllers. You can get these off Amazon. I've picked up a couple of them in the past. I actually turn on server PSUs, and then I put these in my Rosewell 4U server cases, and then I utilize them. This one in particular, I actually have this exact board that he's got here. I use this one in my Rosewell cases, and then I use server grade 120 millimeter fans, 3 of them, and I crank it up to 100%. But what he's utilizing them here for is turning them down so you can have more control over the fan speeds, because the fan speeds currently in the ASUS server case are controlled by the first unit or whatever. I always move it to the middle unit because they are variable depending on the temperature of them. So the middle unit being the more hot unit, I usually run it on that one in particular, because then I'm actually getting that full fan speed out of those. And that's kind of where I move it to. Obviously, in this particular case, what he's done is completely bypass that header on one of the boards, which is kind of, obviously done to try to tamper down the noise. Now, a lot of other things have been being done to tamper down the noise. In this particular case, we see here basically moving to 120 millimeters with a 80 to 120 millimeter adapter for some intakes. My understanding is this didn't function quite as well as what was expected. Now, let me tell you guys what I do with mine. When I get the ASUS server cases in, the first thing I do, rip out everything, right? Pull out all the boards. And then I basically remove the little retainer for the fan cables. I unscrew all of the fans and I move them from intake to exhaust, and this decreases the temperatures. And then I move that cable from the first card in the rig to the middle card, card 6, I believe it is. It depends on, if your name, how your naming convention's working or whatever. And then I reassemble everything, put the M.2s in there. I've been going the M.2 route, but there's a really interesting play that you could do. And James so huge shout out to the James 5 over on Locals, has released a modified version of the HiveOS Pixie diskless. If you guys want to head on over to his GitHub, links down in the description. This is for the BC-250 rigs, and you can boot off of Pixie and completely avoid basically having to install an OS. This will reduce your cost per rig. Now, the difficulty here is you will have to go into the BIOS and Pixie boot. So tomato to a certain extent, you're saving money is the big benefit here. And then you don't have to remove the cards. If you're going to do an M.2, you could do a USB from the outside, and then you don't have to remove the cards, which could basically speed up your install time if you wanted to. But it's kind of like from the perspective of how much time you're going to spend. If I just install the M.2s or USBs, then I boot them up and I don't have to connect a monitor to each one to make sure that they're Pixie booting and all of that. So, by and large, these are like different things that people are doing and managing them. But if you want a Pixie boot, you can save like, I think it's about $13 per for these ones that I've been purchasing. Let's see, I'll show you. But I think I bought all of them too. Just a bunch of these right here. And putting, these are basically little 64 gigabyte SATA M.2 drives. I have had 3 units during my deployment have bad M.2 slots. So those have had to go on to USB drives in particular, but the Pixie boot option is awesome. So huge shout out to James for that. I think definitely a good setup there. Now you'll need a Linux, basically just a Linux box, an Ubuntu box to run the Pixie server on. And then, obviously have that signaling out over Pixie, go in. And then once you have Pixie set to boot, you'll have those rigs just straight up boot into Ubuntu and you're good to go. So that's pretty awesome as far as that's concerned. Now here's a front view of the 80 to 120 millimeter adapters posted by its Jordo. It looks like he left 2 80 millimeters in here and then has the 3 120s. This has all been in an attempt to basically reduce the noise on these systems. So, keep that in mind. These are all ideas that people are putting out there. So you can basically do that. It could also potentially increase your, dissipation of heat depending on how well these work. I'm not quite sure on how well this one worked in particular. I think the most interesting one overall was, I don't know if this was 3D printed or what he did exactly here, but this one was pretty cool. Its Jordo set has moved on, right? So learning from people over on Locals has moved on from the 3D printed 80 to 120 millimeters to moving over to 120 millimeters, and then basically removing the fan tray. There's a little fan tray that holds the 80 millimeters here by drilling out the rivets, and then that's allowing enough space for the 120 millimeters here. These do look like they're in an exhaust configuration, so sucking heat out, and that's going to be kind of the big takeaway is no matter what you're going to do, I think sucking the heat out in this is better than pushing the heat in on these particular units. So keep that in mind. Looks like, yeah, there was I'm not sure exactly. Yeah. Okay. So got nice. So just, I don't know if that's 3D printed. Let us know, Jordo. But pretty cool setup here as far as that's concerned. And then you can pull some of that out. Now, a lot of the times with these rigs, the biggest noise problem, just so you guys are aware, are not actually the fans, but the honeycombed outlets, right? Grills. What I have found, and this is true on the Rosewell cases as well, it's the grill that is increasing the noise more than the fan is increasing the noise in most cases. And that is because obviously when the air is getting pushed through those honeycombs, they're having a reaction, which is then causing that. So it may be even beneficial to do something like, if you're worried about noise on these, it may be beneficial to literally just cut the whole front out. And that's probably where I would start if I was going to do that. Like on the Rosewell cases, when I had experience with those and we were running in my house and I had that 150 square foot bedroom with the hot and cold aisle and we were pushing fucking, 60 amps to that damn thing. We had so much in 150 square foot, so much to where opening the door, it would suck shut, right? It was pulling all that air so hard. And both windows open with grills in them, one for the intake, one for the exhaust, with a big, I think it was I want to say it was a 5,000 CFM fan pushing out. That fan was powerful enough to literally suck the door shut. But to reduce noise, the biggest noise reduction was actually from removing the fan grills off of the fans on the Rosewell 4U server cases. And that is where the biggest benefit came from. A big problem though, just in if you're dealing with noise in a home environment, the fact of the matter is once you get over a certain capacity for a certain square footage, you're gonna have noise issues and you're gonna have to figure out how to deal with it. You may get one BC-250 and be able to modify it to reduce noise, but once you add 4 of them, it's gonna get to the point to where you're going to have to turn those fan speeds up no matter what. And that is really when you need to start considering how you're going to handle that in future, because, you know, everything in this space is basically trying to plan for the future to expand further. I'm all for home mining. But if your home mining strategy is just going to be, I'm only going to home mine and I'm going to have one open air rig, you're not going to be successful in mining on the long term. Your plan should always be pushing towards trying to expand. The reason you start out as a home miner is that you are going to have the intention of expanding that. It's just like any other investment. You don't buy one Airbnb property. You buy one with the intention of buying a second and then buying a third and a fourth, and you could get that compounding factor. And that is the way mining is. Mining is the most purest, easiest form of adapting that mindset of generating revenue, and it's slowly increasing your asset value to the point to where you don't have to rely right on like a day job in general. And then there's obviously, if we get into that further, there's a lot more that you could get into as far as like planning out around the halving cycles and so on too. But this is really what you need to be thinking about for the future. So while I do like seeing all this stuff because it's really cool, you are also spending a lot of time on this, and you need to start spending a little bit more time on figuring out how you're going to solve that in the long run, because once you get to a certain capacity, there's nothing you're going to be able to do about noise, right? You'll want the noise, trust me, because you're going to want to be pushing that heat out as quickly as possible, and that's going to get loud. Now, you guys mined during the bear market. You made it through. Well, at least maybe a half of you. I know a lot of you motherfuckers over here didn't actually do it, but the ones that did, I have a new shirt for you guys, and it says, I mined with the bears for the bear market, okay? So if you mined with the bears and you want to rep that you did mine during the bear market, go ahead and head on over to shop.sonofatech.com. And the listing will be down below. I'll put it in live chat right now. I have a sweatshirt. There's a sticker if you'd rather have a sticker, t-shirt, premium shirt, all that cool stuff. Really like the new shirt. I ordered a few for myself, and I just had that design finished this week. Eventually it'll be on the YouTube channel, but that takes a little bit of time, so just give it some time. Proceeds, of course, go to supporting me in the channel, so there you go. And I thought we put some work into it, and I thought you guys might enjoy it. Thanks for watching this clip from the Crypto Mining Show. You can check out the full episode here, and don't forget to subscribe down here as well. You can also check out my crypto mining e-course at sonofatech.com, where you can get a free month of supporter status with a purchase at sonofatech.locals.com. Also, don't forget to check out my merch underneath the video or at shop.sonofatech.com. I'll see you next Tuesday.